Chapter 1043, each having their own plans. Emlyn blinked as he leaned back in his chair. He spoke unhurriedly, and with a hint of a smile, he answered Miss Justice's question. What I need to do is very simple. My role is to ensure that both parties can complete the collaboration successfully. That means you don't need to participate in the battle, right? Audrey had originally wanted to press with such questions, but after sizing up the moon, she reflected on the words said and said with a faint smile, "Since that's the case, there's only one thing you need to do to ensure your own safety." Makes sense. I can't affect myself because of this matter. Anyway, there's nothing that needs my assistance. I'm not in charge of the risky parts of the operation. I'll later rent Lemanos Travels and spend money to get the world to record a few pages of teleport. My safety will basically be guaranteed. Emlyn thought for a few seconds and said with a nod, "Excellent suggestion." As there were no other members of the Tarot Club participating in the Sanguine's hunting operation and wasn't under their control, the private Min gathering quickly ended and the participants returned to the real world. Klein wasn't in a rush to leave. After his figure disappeared, he appeared in the Fool's chair again and beckoned for the unshadowed crucifix and the Marauder Pathway mystical item, Broken Finger. At that moment, the surface of the two grayish-white tweezers that resembled the polishing of finger bones had produced a piece of gravel that sucked all the light around it, making it look pitch black. It slowly swirled and gathered as though it was trying to form a new shape. As for Broken Finger, the grayish-white color had turned transparent as it reflected some light, producing tiny holes. The unshadowed crucifix can actually slowly purge the Beyonder characteristics from mystical items and sealed artifacts and let them combine together. Of course, the premise is that there's a power similar to the mysterious space above the gray fog to suppress it, allowing it to willingly make contact with items with Beyonder characteristics. Klein nodded in satisfaction. At this moment, the grayish-white Broken Finger suddenly began to belt out in a fervent voice. "Oh, my son. Praise you. Praise the sun." As the tweezer-like object sang, a cracking sound emitted from it as though it would shatter into pieces at any moment. But this did not affect its praise of the sun. Klein gaped at the scene, momentarily at a loss for what expression to show. After a few seconds, he sighed. He separated the unshadowed crucifix and Broken Finger and threw them to the corner of the junk pile in different spots. He then suppressed the former using the powers of the gray fog. Then he prepared to leave and return to the real world. At this moment, the point of light, which represented the Fool's only believer, emitted ripples of light as the sounds of stacked prayers were heard. Klein reined in his thoughts and extended his spirituality over. Immediately, the scene of Danitz praying in his room surfaced before his eyes as a corresponding voice echoed in his ears. "Honorable Mr. Fool, your faithful servant wishes you to pass the following words to Jayaman Sparrow. According to my captain, there are many items at sea that's rumored to belong to Vice Admiral Ailment, but without any exception, they're all fake. And ever since she was injured after that assault, this pirate admiral has placed great care in the secrecy of her course and seldom plunders. The last time her ship appeared was 2 months ago at Thuro's Island west of the Berserk Sea. Later, it cruised into the massive ocean, her whereabouts unknown. The foreign object in Anderson's stomach is now controlled to some degree and is separated from his body to a certain extent. It won't be able to penetrate his flesh for a very long period of time. There are 2 ways to completely resolve this latent problem. One is to seek the help of the Sun Pathways sequence, 4 Unshadowed. However, this has quite a high possibility of cleansing most of his Beyonder characteristics. The second is to find the Hunter Pathways sequence, 4 Iron-Blooded Night Potion formula. Through the help of the ritual and ingredients, he can directly absorb the foreign object. Anderson is inclined toward the latter choice. He's happy to take the risk. It's obvious that Danitz is forwarding me Vice Admiral Iceberg's answer by imitating her style. This isn't his usual style of speech. However, some of his terms aren't precise enough. Could it be that Danitz had secretly modified it to use terms he understands better? Is he worried that Jayaman Sparrow wouldn't be able to understand? Klein pricked up his brows and cast his attention back onto the content itself. Vice Admiral Ailment adhered to the advice from the Demoness sect and has hidden in this relatively critical period. If that's the case, it's basically impossible to capture her in a short span of time. In 1 or 2 months' time, perhaps the matter will completely blow up and I wouldn't have a need to seek her out. I'll first send Danitz to look for her and keep some hope. My focus will be on finding Demoness Trissy. I have a way to contact her and can consider using the excuse of working together to deal with Saintess of White Katarina to make her meet with Jayaman Sparrow. I'll see if I can control her and use her to fish out Katarina. The elimination of Anderson's latent problem has 2 solutions, both of which I can help with. Since he's inclined toward taking risks by advancing to absorb the foreign object, I don't have to worry about using Danitz to promote the option of leasing the unshadowed crucifix to him. That's good. At least I don't have to worry about the crucifix given by Adam creating some nasty chemical reaction with the foreign object Adam left in him. As for the potion formula for Iron-Blooded Knight, with how Anderson had played an important role in luring in C. Zangwill, it's not like I can't give it to him. The foreign object in his stomach is Adam's payment. I can't directly bestow it to him since he isn't a believer of the Fool. Jayaman Sparrow has no reason to give him something at such a high level. Amidst his thoughts, Klein quickly made a decision. He conjured the world Jayaman Sparrow and made him take on a prayer stance. In the fog sea, on the Golden Dream. Bang! The wooden door was pushed open and slammed heavily into the wall. Amidst this loud commotion, Anderson, who had been flipping the pages of a book, looked at Danitz, who was standing by the door with his usual expression. "There's a very good mission for you." With a cloak draped over his shoulders, Danitz raised his chin and chuckled. Anderson sized up the pirate opposite him and tusked. "You seem to be very smug." "What's the mission?" Danitz glanced at Anderson and said, "Accompany me to Thoreau's Island and help me seek out Vice Admiral Ailment's whereabouts. In addition, help me gather the beyonder ingredients needed for Conspirer. Hess, you'll have to pay for it." Anderson nodded in thought. "Then, what is the reward?" The corners of Danitz's mouth widened as he said in a condescending manner, "The Iron-Blooded Knight's supplementary ingredient list and the advancement ritual." Anderson didn't respond. He didn't say a word as he focused his gaze on Danitz for nearly 10 seconds. Then, as though he was burning with impatience, he threw away the book in his hand and stood up. He said with a bright smile, "When do we set off?" "Backland, Eastborough, in a rental apartment that had its curtains drawn." Trissy, who was dressed in a black dress, packed her luggage, preparing to head to her next hideout. Her slightly round face was a little slimmer than before. Apart from her sweet smile, she had an indescribable, elegant, and beautiful look. Even though she was in the dirty and chaotic Eastborough, she seemed to be untainted by any dirt. Trissy didn't immediately pick up her black suitcase. After looking around, she walked to the desk and unfolded a piece of paper. She picked up a pen and wrote, "Mr. Jayaman Sparrow, I've obtained the information I need from that captain of the Royal Guards. He is truly loyal to King George III. You should understand what this means. Next, my goal is to figure out what this king wants. For that, I plan to oppose the Demoness Sex Saintess of White Katarina. She definitely knows the corresponding secrets. She's a Sequence 3, a Demoness of Unaging. She's very difficult to kill, and it's very difficult to capture her. I have to admit that just my strength alone isn't enough to deal with her. If you're interested and confident, we can try cooperating. You know how to contact me." "Trissy." Putting down the pen, Trissy folded the letter and began setting up the ritual to summon Jayaman Sparrow's messenger. She had only written to the crazy adventurer now because she was worried that he would lock onto her hiding spot with the help of his messenger, and then teleport over, bringing help to launch an assault. Therefore, she waited until she was about to move before making the attempt. Although Trissy wasn't sure what Jayaman Sparrow's motives were and couldn't determine if he would launch a surprise attack on her, out of habit, she chose the most reliable method for her, just to be safe. After handing the letter to the messenger, I'll leave and wait for Jayaman Sparrow to contact me. I'll try not to meet him until we begin taking action. I wonder what faction is hiding behind him. I have to focus on mobilizing and using him, and not to trust him too much. This is indeed troublesome, but it's sufficiently safe. As Trissy thought, she ended what she was busy with and took 2 steps back. Looking at the candlelight, she chanted in ancient Hermes. I summon in my name. The spirit that wanders about the unfounded, the friendly creature that can be subordinated, the messenger that belongs to Jayaman Sparrow. Just as she finished speaking, the candlelight burgeoned and turned abnormally pale. Following that, a figure stepped out of the candlelight and wore a dark and complicated robe, holding 4 blonde, red-eyed heads. The 4 heads had 8 bloodshot eyes that darted around simultaneously as they cast their gaze at Trissy. Trissy's pupils dilated, as though she saw something extremely terrifying.